in the context of others. So it's no good working just with the child. Theoretically, you've got to understand them in their context. So, what does it mean? So what kind of people are you? Let's go back to this. And then we'll see what kind of people the others might be. Let's see if I can find it. Whoops. Sorry about this. I'll get there eventually. Here we go. Okay, let's see what kind of people you are. Yeah. Yeah, loudly as you can.
Firstborn son has, for example, different expectations when work conflict, I would say. In some cultures,
yep.
And others, I see through the house we have a large Middle Eastern community.
Yep.
And, I think the firstborn son has got like 3 older sisters. The firstborn son still has similar characteristics to other firstborn sons that I speak, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's true. In fact, I think one of the reasons this theory is not so popular is, first of all, issues of ethnicity that are now prevalent. It was a West democratic invention, right? And blended families, which really mess it up, you know. There's no way you can figure out who your firstborns are in a blended family. In China, they've got a whole nation of firstborns. I don't know what that's going to do. In theory, it means they're going to be very, very difficult to work with in another generation. Firstborns do not cooperate well. No, if they're the only born, I'm saying single parent, single children, they've never had to learn to negotiate. So it's not. It's logical. It's just logical. They don't negotiate with others, their equals. They get what they want. And that's a bit like the firstborn. Firstborns generally get what they want if they're skillful, but singleborns certainly get what they want. So if you've got a whole country full of these people, it's a huge experiment. It's going to be fascinating to watch. It could be disastrous for the world, for all I know, but it's just interesting in terms of theory. Okay, so let's come back to this for a minute. Now, where's your biggest one? 2. You don't like 2. Okay, so you don't like music very much, or rhythm, or whatever it is. You don't like 7. You're not into mime. It's a shame, because I'm going to get you to mime later. So that's a pity. You do like words. 3. You like words. So you like me. 4. Yeah, you're a bit introspective. That was probably all the primaries. Probably. They're more interested often because they see the whole child in the inner workings of the child, or women in general, but introspective. So there are certain things there that are sort of intuitively associated with other variables that we know about, but generally our strengths are words, and our weaknesses are movement and rhythm. That's why we're in this room, because we all had to write essays and do whatever it was that we needed to get that degree. Except for the phys eds, they did it. They're actually whole brain. They can do both.
Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's not so common. You should know that my brother and I are a classic example. That's probably why I was attracted to this theory. He is a firstborn, but he became a fitter and turner and left school in year 10. He went to Collingwood Tech. Now, the minute he left, while he was there, I competed with him. I was a very good student. I won a scholarship at the end of grade 6. I could have gone to any school, anywhere. The minute he left and I no longer had to compete with him in school, I had a great time. And I became a very difficult student, having to repeat year 12 and all sorts of other things. Invited to leave and have a break in year 8. So what's interesting about that was he controlled my life without me even knowing it. However, and why would he choose to do that? Because my father was an upholsterer. So he went the way of the parental capital as he saw it. He went the way he would gain greatest approval. So he spent all his time developing his right brain, theoretically. It's simplistic now because brain science is more complicated, but generally right brain sort of activity. So he actually developed it, as in laid down paths and like a muscle. He developed it. Every time he used it, he developed it. So by the time he was 14, he could strip down a car and grind the valves and put it all back together and it would work, you know, and he had no bits over like when I ever did anything. So he was really good. So I learnt not to do that. That was not an area I was going to move into. He, on the other hand, realised that I'd captured the words. So when he did eventually become a real estate agent, and he wanted to go for his licence. He couldn't do the exam because every time he picked up a pen, he got a migraine. It's an extreme case, but standard stuff. So he had to do it orally. He was lucky he did it orally, and that's also right brain because he's a salesman. I'm a salesman. My mother was a salesperson. We're all selling. He sells land and I sell ideas. By the way, land's worth a hell of a lot more, you should know, which means he's doing much better than I am. But it's just interesting that those differences have been defined from almost age 1. Now, can he now stop getting a migraine? No, because he has no idea of this theory, and you cannot tell an older brother anything if you're a younger person. They're not going to hear you. It would be a waste of time. Whereas, can I now do something practical? Yeah, I do. I do it really badly, but I do it. I've built furniture, fixed cars, done things that are his territory because I've come to realise I don't have to be as good as him. I'm still okay. And that's one of the secrets of the theory. The theory is empowering, but they've got to understand what's going on to be empowered. And these kids who are Ds have no insight of why they do what they do. Why did I choose not to be like, not to be practical? Why did I choose to be in those boxes, like you? Because he was in the other boxes. The exact inverse of what I am. And we're pretty extreme, but most people have elements of it, unless your parents demanded you both have one of the boxes filled. Your parents were literary, so they demanded that both of you be literary. So then one will go into community, like my 2 daughters. One's in stem cell sort of work, the other's in communication. Right? They're both doing advanced studies, but they can't do it in the same area because they're in competition. So the firstborn, being more like a scientist person, because that's what I was then, she went into science. The other one had to find something else. So she found communication. So when you're aware of it, you just see it play out in front of you. You can't stop it. It's not that simple with your own, but you can see it working. Now, had she not had the belief that we loved her enough, she would have gone into being deviant because the first one was an all-round goody-goody. So she did a bit, played with the family values here and there, and you expect that. And if I'd have reacted badly to that, guess what would happen? She would have just jettisoned the family. And that's what happens with Ds in schools. When the teachers don't know what's going on and they react badly, it's going to get a hell of a lot worse. And that's your job. Your job is somehow to get them to understand that. So, when I come into a school and I say, think of your worst